in approximately 2004, 2005, I decided to term something I had kind of ritualized, traditionalized. I decided to term it Sacred Saturdays. And it was my computer game playing, which I had started in the 1990s, and it had gone through some life changes. And so I was born in the 1990s, so like schooling especially. And so as my school status changed and I graded up, so to speak, went up in grades, and started work and had different sports teams and stuff like that, my activity level for computer gaming, it kind of got shifted around. And so I'm going to go through a chronology of the Sacred Saturdays of Tanis Coralee Leonhardi, me, 1990s to ongoing. Today is Wednesday, 28 May 2025, and I've started in March 2025 this year sharing my Sacred Saturdays here on this YouTube channel, Tanis Leonhardi. And so here I, Tanis Coralee Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle, share a chronology of my Sacred Saturdays from starting to learn to use a computer and playing computer games in the 1990s, the decade of my birth, to ongoing. Video filmed on Wednesday, 28 May 2025, and including my deciding on the name founding of Sacred Saturdays in 2004/2005. This tradition is one I started as a preteen and continue on as I am able. It is a Saturday I dedicate to balanced eating and concentrated/ritualized computer game playing. I've played computer games every decade of my existence. Yes. So started in the 1990s here in this room. And my desk used to be over there, and the corner of the desk would be like, it had like a front, kind of like the canopy, and it would go into the corner, and so the keyboard was here, and monitor, desktop back there, and the mouse over here, and I would play. And I started with, where did we go? Was it like Fry's Electronics or something like that? And we were allowed to pick out like a computer game or two, and I went with, I think it was Number Munchers or Math Munchers or something like that. And I was like, I love numbers. And like, so I'd go around and I had to have this little character, and I'd have all these things on like a board, and I'd take the character I was playing, and I'd be like, eat all of the fractions. And so I did that. So that was like the 1990s. And then, so that was at home, and then I, at school, and I was like, it would have been like 1999 or something like that. And we started with keyboarding before we had computer lab. They like broached us into computer lab, but the year before we had keyboarding. And like, I remember getting there and being like, I know how to play Number Munchers, but I don't know home row on keyboarding. And so I was like the only woman to be in the bottom 5 of the class. I was like, it's like I'm breaking all the gender stereotypes in the wrong way. So, and then 2000s, I had a female friend that I had play dates with, and she and I both played computer games, and so we'd kind of share what computer games we were playing. And I went over to her house one time, and she was playing a Nancy Drew computer game, and so that ended up being our play date, was like playing Nancy Drew. And so I ended up going that path and being like, oh, I'll check this game out. And then I liked it, so I got a few others, and then that one kind of became the central series, like, like a television series has like different seasons. I kind of like, you could think of it as like the Nancy Drew computer games. Each one's like a season or something. That's how I kind of came to think of it. And I was like, it's analogous to, not the same as, but analogous to like television show kind of thing. And so that one became kind of the main staple. And I've covered 18 of the games I've played. It's not all of them, but it's getting close. Very close. And I had other computer games as well, aside from Number Munchers and Nancy Drew. But essentially, so that's kind of the gaming side and the setup. And now I play on this desk, or if I'm in bed, like if I lie down in bed, play, and have like a note, something I read on a hard surface and that kind of thing. So the computer games, the wear, and the setup. I've also played 2010s outside Washington State, when I lived outside of Washington State, and it's transitioned kind of from desktops to laptop, but I missed the desktop. It'd be fun to have that set up again. And it became Sacred Saturdays, and I decided on the name and settled on the day, the Sacred Saturday, in 2004-2005, because it was one of the few areas in life where I could control it because it was in my room. and I had to be careful with food because I was around a computer. So it was one of the few areas in life where I would have really abnormally good and balanced eating habits because I didn't want to get my computer dirty. Or destroy the computer. So, and like I was overweight at that point in time, like when I founded it. And so it really helped me like clean up my life, so to speak, and get balanced. And I decided on Sacred Saturdays because it was about keeping Saturday sacred to me and not losing my computer game playing. Because when I was in elementary school and kind of middle school, 1990s, 2000s, as I went up to middle school and high school, I had more going on. I had more sports teams. I had, you know, work, that kind of stuff. And so essentially, I used to play a bunch during the summer, and then during the school year, I'd still want to play, so I'd play on the weekends, but we'd have church on Sundays. So then I was kind of left with Saturdays, and then I, you know, as I grew older, I had homework that I would kind of get started on Sundays, take Saturdays off, and I was like, I'm going to reinforce that. Is Saturdays is like, have to take a break so I don't burn myself out, and I'm going to play what I want to play. And that way, if during the summers I'm really busy or something like that, I still have my Sacred Saturdays year round. So that's where it came from. And I worked really well, and you know, it'd be like, I'm gonna play my Nancy Drew game and then go off and lifeguard or teach swim lessons, or you know, that kind of stuff. So it got integrated into my life story at different levels. And I didn't lose the computer games I enjoyed playing. So there we go. That's the chronology of the Sacred Saturdays of Tanis Coralee Leonhardi, 1990s to ongoing. And Tanis Coralee Leonhardi that I'm referring to here is me.